hello there. Good morning and welcome to Rising. Thanks so much for joining us on this special news show of ours. Nice to see you, Lindsay.
You didn't speak in Spanish today. What happened? You left me hanging. I thought I was going to hear a little bit more.
Time is
Como
just
está?
compressing, and I was like, did I do that yesterday? Did I do that weeks ago? I don't know. Where am I? What's going on?
I think because it's so dreary, which we've been telling people about in D.C.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is in the rest of the country who's watching, but it's very rainy and overcast, probably because of the bad weather near North Carolina.
Yeah.
We need that sunshine so we can bring, you know,
I
good energy.
think I said.
Oh, look, that's a live look at the Outer Banks, so you guys can see.
That looks dreary.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks kind of
Peaceful.
haunting and romantic. I'd like to be on that
Maybe you can have your wedding there.
boardwalk.
Well, coming up on Rising, I'll be discussing how Steve Bannon is giving Gavin Newsom props for his Trump-style trolling.
Plus, a new reporting indicates that Elon Musk might not follow through on a third party after all.
And President Trump's latest comments on the Smithsonian Museum has caused outrage among those on the left. But first, Robby, what is on your radar?
There are a few women, more important in the conservative media ecosystem than Megyn Kelly. The former Fox News host has her own podcast empire, and she's among the most influential pro-Trump voices in independent media. Though initially combative with Trump while previously serving as a host at Fox, Kelly's become an ideologically reliable enforcer and promoter of pro-Trump views, particularly on cultural issues. On foreign policy, well, she's an ardent defender of Israel and the U.S.'s special relationship with that country. So it really means something when even Megyn Kelly is sounding less than enthusiastic about what Israel is doing in Gaza, about the level of financial support the U.S. is supplying to Israel, and also the amount of influence the Israel lobby exerts on the U.S. government. Now, on her show this week, she invited Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene to discuss AIPAC, the pro-Israel group, and the sway it holds over other members of Congress. Like Kelly, MTG's MAGA credentials are unimpeachable. She's one of Trump's most reliable backers, and she believes in America first. But MTG questions whether reflexively supporting everything the Israeli government does is actually in America's best interest. She also resents the level of influence that AIPAC seems to exercise over her colleagues. Here's MTG explaining it to Kelly.
Israel is the only country I know of that has some sort of incredible influence and control over nearly every single one of my colleagues. And it is, I don't know how to explain it.
I mean, I believe it just given the amount of reach out I've had in this position. And I don't vote on anything, you know,
Yeah.
And if I had taken money, I could see them really thinking that they had a right to control my speech or, you know, my positions, which is why I never have, of course.
Elsewhere in the interview, Kelly does plenty of throat clearing. She says she's always supported Israel's right to defend itself, and she still does. She would never, ever side with a terrorist group. Of course not. Neither would I. She's unwavering in that regard. But she knows the ground is shifting.
There's a contingent of people who are worried that they're losing me. And I've said that you're not losing. I'm not on Hamas's side.
No, God, no. Nobody's on Hamas's side.
But it's been a while now that this has been going on.
Right.
And we're getting more involved with the Iranian bombing and so on.
Sure.
And my own feelings are, you know, I'm looking at Israel in a different way right now than I was on 10/8, that's for sure, of 23.
Right.
And I can feel the pressure being slightly ratcheted up, like you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. And I can see people like you, like Tucker, who I know Tucker. I've known him for years. And I've seen you in your early career. I know you have nothing against Israel.
Megyn Kelly is not alone. The fact is many, many people in the MAGA movement are becoming more suspicious of the Israeli government. That does not mean they are anti-Israel. It certainly doesn't mean they're anti-Semitic. If they are anti-Semitic, they have no business in the conservative movement. What it means is that Israel has a slow-rolling PR crisis on its hands. For decades, Israel has enjoyed unqualified support from Republicans and Democrats, and in exchange, the President of the United States was able to exercise some power over the Israeli government's actions in the Middle East. Presidents from Reagan to Bush to Clinton to Obama got to say, okay, enough's enough, we aren't getting dragged into World War III. But under the Biden administration, that changed, as President Biden basically let Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu do whatever he wanted in Gaza as a result of October 7th. Maybe Joe Biden didn't even know what was going on. Now, even as that ultimately meant the deaths of tens of thousands of innocent people and the utter destruction of Gaza and the starvation of women and children, Israel's backers are now forced to present deeply uncomfortable arguments out of, well, such and such child's not really starving, they were already very sick. Look, these are not winning arguments, I'm sorry, and MAGA is noticing. I've certainly noticed it, and I've been defending Israel's right to defeat the terrorist group Hamas for years, including on this program. I've been uncompromising on this. If you've been watching for years, you know. But like Megyn Kelly and like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I cannot defend an unending campaign that kills tens of thousands of children. I can't defend a foreign lobbying group sidestepping requirements that every other foreign government has to follow, i.e. sign up under FARA. And I've never defended, ever, the aid money we send to Israel. Israel's a rich country with lower debt to GDP ratio than the U.S. Let them buy our weapons with their own money. That's fine. Which brings me to my last point. There are certainly elements of MAGA that want to back aid and support to Israel no matter what. Fine. I retweeted the MTG Kelly interview on X, and Laura Loomer replied to me, MTG doesn't speak for MAGA. That's true, she doesn't speak for everyone, but young, online, right-leaning MAGA folks are resentful of how much money we send to Israel. It's just a fact. If Israel wants to restore its good standing with the America First crowd, they don't necessarily have to compromise their policies, but they should at least consider ending their reliance on our aid. I'm now hearing this even from some very pro-Israel people, that they think the support that they're getting from the U.S. is damaging the country in the eyes of young conservatives who are not for foreign aid of any kind. Again, it's not specific to Israel.
Right.
It's not a special beef with Israel. I wanted to cancel most of what USAID was doing as well. So consistent with that, they can do what they want to do. They should take out a terrorist organization, but we don't need to be paying for it, is, I think, a very easy, solid compromise that would restore the Israeli government's credibility in the eyes of the America First movement, and that's what MTG and Megyn Kelly are talking about. I
actually like that you brought up Biden in this. I usually say don't bring up Biden, but I think in this instance, there's a conversation to be had about the 23 or almost a year, 2 years of the war happening between Hamas and Israel, and knowing that the strategies for almost both presidents were largely the same and similar. And to a lot of people outside looking in who all agreed that Israel had the right to defend itself, that this is not a consistent strategy that should be Israel kind of do whatever it wants. And so when people are looking at foreign policy and trying to differentiate between two distinct administrations, they can't really tell the difference, because it seems like there has been an immediate damning of anyone that says anything in contradiction of Netanyahu, which has always been my stance, that is not anti-Semitic. He's a leader. He can be wrong. He can have overreach. He can overstep. And also it can be true that Hamas is a terrorist organization that uses civilians inappropriately and put their lives at risk. But I think when you have, 2.3 million people that are starving and aid that's been cut off consistently at different points for almost 2 years, you have to understand that there are humans there, and then there are war crimes, and we operate at an international level with the rest of the world where history's watching, and how we handle this is going to be automatically watching. And the U.S. has made mistakes. The argument has been, well, no one said anything when the U.S. was doing all this and that after decided to go into wars. We did a lot of egregious stuff. So I understand from the pedestal with which a lot of leaders are speaking, but I just think as a regular civilian and just seeing people, to be honest, we have protests happening right outside of our building about this very topic. And I think that
deeply misguided protests, because those protesters are like shaming the media for not covering this. How frequently do I talk about this and actually criticize the Israeli government and say that what's happening in Gaza needs to end? So those protesters out there who bang on their ridiculous drums and disrupt the operations in this building should get a clue about what we're actually talking about. They have no idea what they're talking about, but that's typical of totally misguided hippie left protesters.
We'll talk about more of this. Robby went way left. Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth went on a field trip to Union Station yesterday. That's right nearby us. Hear all about their visit next. We'll be right back.